You're listening to That Home Loan Hub. I'm Zibuni Salimova, here to make home loans and property investing simple, smart and stress-free. Let's get you closer to your property dreams. You're listening to That Home Loan Hub. I'm Zibuni Salimova, here to make home loans and property investing simple, smart and stress-free. Let's get you closer to your property dreams. Hello, Michael Seymour from Tall Poppy. How are you today?
Pretty good, Zibonisa. I've just come back from a month away from work for the first time in my life. So
a month away from work. Where have you been?
Well, I'm an elderly hockey player. So for the first 2 weeks I was in Auckland with the Masters Hockey World Cup, first time it's ever been in New Zealand, and played in that. And then I went to a wedding in Thailand. So I've been in Asia. Just got home. Nice.
That sounds like a really exciting time for someone that owns a company, runs a company, to take away a whole month.
Well,
I envy you. You have to tell me now, how can you achieve that in life to do this? So for those that are listening, I've got Michael Seymour, the owner of Tall Poppy, in the office with me today. Absolutely grateful for this human in my life. You've been an interesting character, I think, in the last 12 to 24 months. How long have we known each other? I think a couple of years now. 3 years?
Just before you started building this house.
That's right. We're not going to go into that, are we? No, we're not going to share that story yet. But you've been instrumental in terms of me looking at who I am and where I want to go, because you're quite inspirational. I find you very positive, and your outlook on life and what you've been through and the wisdom that you shared with me. And I absolutely love your daily stories on Facebook as well, with Sarah Says. That was kind of cool. So, Michael, do you want to tell our listeners about your journey, really, and where did you start and what are you doing right now?
Yeah, well, hopefully you can interrupt me, because I'm one of those people that can easily talk for a long time.
Okay, bring it on.
But yeah, look, I found out quite young that I was a business person. In effect, unemployable to others. My journey started as I guess I'm a little bit of I felt I was an aimless young man, and I was clever enough, but didn't really have any clear places to go. And my mum, who's a beautiful, lovely woman, I think probably shaped the personality that I've got today, which is generally sort of a very calm disposition and just like to have a good time. But get cool things done. And anyway, I didn't want to do anything as a youngster, and I was good at chemistry. I could do it without even studying. So my mum enrolled me in the pharmacy school as a young man without telling me.
Wow.
Well, kind of, and
it was legal chemistry, right?
Oh, sorry, pharmacy. Long story short, as a young man, I ended up at pharmacy school and became a pharmacist. And off I went to pharmacy school, and within literally 2 months of my internship as a young man, I realised that I was trying to run all the systems, and the processes, and also the people, right? And I was also bullish. I was confident in arguing the point when I knew something, which would have been a pain in the ass for a lot of people that came across me. But I was also a lot of fun. So yeah, I managed to get through my internship, and in the end I ended up buying into this pharmacy. And long story short, it wasn't I was 27 when I went into my first pharmacy, and then opportunities came up to go and partner up and do other things with other pharmacies. And long story short, I ended up starting a pharmacy company that ended up with like 44 pharmacies, and we changed the shape of corporate ownership in New Zealand.
Wow.
Just literally from having a bit of a tigress attitude, but I also discovered during that time that I had to own businesses, because if I was working for someone else, I wasn't going to listen to a lot of instruction. Might be the best way to put it. And even I'll tell the story of finishing the pharmacy group. But when I sold out of the pharmacy group and I was on my own and I had nothing to do, I got approached by a whole lot of recruiters, and they were adamant that they were going to stick me into these business CEO roles and all of this sort of thing. And I told them at the beginning it wasn't going to work. But after I think about 6 months, all of them said to me, "You're unemployable." Unless, of course, somebody just wanted to give you their business to run.
Yeah.
And that might sound a little bit arrogant, but the key thing for me is once I know something and I believe it, then I'm just going to go and do it.
Go for it.
Yeah, I go and do it. And the key thing I've learned about all of that is that everything's achievable if you know you can do it and you've got the tenacity. The problem that a lot of people have are that when the barriers get in the way, right, they don't stand for long enough through the journey, and sometimes it's quite a long one. So, in that regard, and then I can tell you how I stumbled into real estate, but now I'm applying the same thing to real estate because I'm certainly not done with what I want to achieve in real estate.
So let me get it straight, right, for those that are listening, and as I'm listening to you, Michael, is basically you've got to have that foundation right. You've got to have the right values, the right ethics to work, whether you're working for yourself, whether you're working for someone. I mean, not everyone is a bulldozer like you that can just go and work for themselves and build something. But if you're working for someone as well, it's the same fundamentals, really, of having the tenacity to persevere when things get hard, not just throw a towel in and go, I'm done. It's too hard.
Yes, and that's got a lot to do with perseverance and tenacity. But I think everything floats to the top in time. People just don't wait long enough sometimes. And also, values alignment's important. You have to learn not to tolerate things that are unacceptable to you and where boundaries are set. And these days, I think, I'm not saying that in the past anyone was any better at boundaries, but these days I do notice that the people that do set boundaries are often seen as difficult, right? And it's okay to be difficult sometimes, as long as you're difficult for the right reasons. And I think that's fair and reasonable. These days, anybody that sort of, sets himself apart can often be vilified, especially with social media, or I don't know, society's just moved a little bit differently than when I was a little boy. It seemed a heck of a lot more innocent, and slower paced. But, the advice that I give anybody from my perspective is I'm not the best at anything that I do. I'm not the brightest either, but I'm quite bright, but I'm not the brightest. But if I had to say one thing that I might be up near the top of, it's tenacity, because a whole bunch of things that I've prevailed in have been because I was the last man standing when everyone else dropped out, and it was hard. And I think, and I also knew I was doing the right thing. So yeah, I mean, that's not an easy thing to do, because people come at you and emotionally draining.
And do you think it's also because you do play professional sport as well? Like, do you think that also has some relevance to that?
Well, let's clarify that one pretty quickly. I've actually never played professional sport.
No,
I haven't. I've played sport at a very high level, and now I play Masters hockey for New Zealand, which is not that hard if you're fit and old. It's an attitude, But I'm from a high performance sports family. There was a lot of discipline around training and whatnot when I was young as a sportsman. But the truth of it, Zibanisa, is I probably could have played professional sport, and I'm never one of those people that says I could have done anything, right? But I have the physical assets to play high level of sport. Sport's not my thing, right? That's what I learned, because when I didn't train as hard as the others, but I had better skills or speed. I'm born for business, right? And I'm a thinker that doesn't sleep much, that's got a high capacity for achieving, and I love people. And coming back to that pharmacy company, even now I can walk down the street in another city and someone will walk up to me who was a young intern back in the day with my pharmacy company, and all they talk about is our culture. And that's that's the only thing I'll bring to a business. That's the only business I'll run, is something where everybody is in it for each other and looking to improve everyone else's lot. And that's really why I'm still in real estate, because we're doing something a bit different.
Yeah, so let's talk about the real estate, because when I first moved on the coast, I got to know about the tall poppy. It was a red sign everywhere. Stands out to me because I love red. But recently you went through a whole brand change. Do you want to tell me a little bit about the logic behind changing the whole brand, the color scheme, and the vision, the values of where you're going with your brand?
Yep, sure. I mean, the tall poppy change was a bit different than, say, launching a fresh brand. I've done a few brand things over time, and I had a friend once who had a saying, "Brand is what brand does." So you get all of the people that say, well, brand, the logo's super important and the brand's super important, but there's some pretty successful ugly brands, and ultimately I think what happens is people, fundamentally, you don't want to have a brand that you can't use to market yourself, for example. But if you're so successful or your product's so good or people have learned what your brand is, they'll accept it and start to learn it. So I don't buy into the fact that you can have a shit business with a great brand. Brand isn't just a logo and a look. Anyway, the thing is with Tall Poppy is that we had cultured a very good business over time. When I came into Tall Poppy, it was only really based around Wellington. Oh, well, it expanded a little bit, but it was a $10,000 flat fee business.
That's right. That's what I remember.
And it was getting traction, because of a few things. One, the markets that it were in were receptive to that offer. At the time, then there's a certain segment of the population that are price shoppers, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
but there's only a certain segment. Everybody else is looking for value, right, within it. But what I noticed is that people were flocking to the business, and I also noticed another thing. Actually, I'll talk about that later. So let's talk about the brand change first, and then we'll go back and talk about the values. So the Tall Poppy had evolved. Its offer had evolved from a $10,000 flat fee to, in my view, and I'll be quite bullish about this, offering more value than any other real estate company in New Zealand, bar none. So as a pharmacist, even though I'm a clinical person, I ended up running 44 pharmacies, retail stores, right? So
that's insane. I mean, I only had one shop in my life, never again. So thinking about 44, that's crazy. I went through these recessionary periods right through the 2000s and whatnot, right? And the GFC thing hit and all of that. So, we had 4 pharmacies. We had 4 of the 5 pharmacies in Queen Street, right? And a huge amount of our business was to the people coming in on the ships, right? So they come in the ships, the Asian people would come in and buy all the honey, and so we're pharmacies, but we're selling buckets of honey and all of these various things. But anyway, the point being is that people need a product to attach to, in my view. And so I come into real estate and there's no product. Like people sign up with a real estate agent, but they have no idea what they're getting, right? And even from a fee or cost perspective, they're hidden. You work it out at the time. There's all of this smoke and mirrors, clandestine stuff, and I couldn't quite understand it. And because this company had a $10,000 flat fee, I'm like, okay, well, that's good. That's a starting point. But over time, we've added in things. So the first thing that we changed the $10,000 flat fee to a tiered fee, depending on the house price, for the primary reason that we wanted to grow nationally, right? And I had to have not just an offer for the consumers, but I had to have an offer for the agents, right? And if an agent was going to move from another company to me or consider a change in their life, then I had to at least be able to offer them the ability to earn similarly to what they were earning, right? The irony of it is that we changed the tiered pricing for Tall Poppy, and once we increased our pricing and made it visible to the public, the inquiries flooded in. Our business went high, and the other agents were then comparably, we could go into new areas. So, quite often, sometimes something looks cheap, people avoid it. Yeah, it's really interesting because then you think, what am I actually paying for? Because
that's right. So if you've got 2 brand new cars sitting on the street, right, and it's a Land Rover and one's 100,000, and suddenly one's 40.
Yeah, you question it. Are
you going to buy the 40, or are you going to go? Someone's going to come and knock on my door one day and take this car from me, or
humans are weird.
I think they're quite predictable, to be fair, and I've learned a lot through this process. But anyway, coming back to the offer piece, right? So we tiered up the fee, and then there was a stat that I read from, I think it might have been Tony Alexander one day, that said 50% of New Zealanders couldn't settle a $2,000 bill if they got it today, tomorrow. In other words, they didn't have $2,000 in the bank, right? And the average vendor-funded marketing for selling property was $2,500 at the time, right? And I'm like, this is a bit of a conundrum for a lot of people. And I'm one of those people that just want to normal, New Zealand people, right? I want to look after them.
Yeah.
And so we created a free marketing package that essentially had everything that you could get for that $2,500 average. And we researched the best stuff that we could, and we created the free marketing package that gave the consumer an obvious brand look with Tall Poppy, and we've done incredibly well from that, and we've refined and built on that. And I guess one of the key things is to not be wasteful. Right. So if I look at real estate, Harcourts and Ray White have got 200 offices each around New Zealand, and every time you've got an office, you've got a cost. You've got administrators, you've got rent, you've got costs, and these sorts of things, and they have to be paid for somewhere. And that's why the fees in real estate are so high. But with technology these days, you can have amazingly talented resource and have it permeate out to everybody through technology. And so we built one office here in Kapiti. Oh, just for the listeners' benefit, I was born and bred in Kapiti and left, and I only came back with the real estate company, actually. So, so it's nice to be back in the region.
Why Paraparumo? Why the offices in Paraparumo?
Well, the business partners that owned Tall Poppy when I came in were either based here or based in Wellington, and the one in Wellington moved out here, and my family's here. So, we bought a building, an old derelict antique shop, and then converted it into a cool little office. So
it is cool. I've been there before, and I'm blown away with some of the stuff you have, and in love with your whiteboards. Well, the thing is, going back to that whole central office, right? You get 200 offices, and you've got to have resources in each of those offices. There's not 200 super talented, amazing marketers in New Zealand to go into those offices, and they don't really get run through one central office. So, what I've tried to do is to go, okay, we're a little company, but I'm only servicing one lot of people. So, we've got 130, 40 people working around the country, and I've got to have enough resource to add value to what they have to offer and to support them. So, honestly, in the different categories of people that we have doing things, I think we've probably got the best in New Zealand and over half of them in our office. And so people just do not know, like, the grunt that's behind Tall Poppy. And right now we're about to go and launch the next iteration of our offer, which is going to shake the market up, because we've been working on it for 2 years. And it just comes back to that philosophy of what I do behind the scenes is work on the tools to give guys something different for the consumer. And it's not an easy conundrum. It's not an easy thing to crack, because you can dream up all sorts of cool things that don't work. I've done so many, but I'm prepared to fail. I've had way more failures than I've had successes, but at least I go at it. And I think that's the key. I think a lot of people these days scared to take that leap of faith because they're afraid to fail. But you got to fail sometimes in life in order to learn, then to go further and succeed. I mean, that's what I found through my own experiences in life, is that you just got to try. I mean, if you've got an idea and you think it's going to work, just try. And if it doesn't work, at least you've tried.
Yeah, well, look, I've done some pretty daft things in this, even in the real estate business. I came up with, because we don't have offices, right? I came up with this stupid idea that I thought was good, and you would have seen this when we had the tiny house cafe down in the car park. Yes,
I remember that one.
Okay, well, that was a cool idea, but a bit of a debacle. But my idea for that was I could build all of these like little tiny mobile cafes with the ability to have like seated meetings and that in them. And wherever we have a franchise around the country, we could have a Tall Poppy cafe, and we could run a Tall Poppy cafe business and have a little place for little meetings and stuff. It was the dumbest idea I ever had, but I was excited about it. And
it's actually cool in the concept, but in execution, it didn't work out.
Well, I mean, the custard pie cart have got a good little mobile cafe now, don't they? But yet so many things that was done for all of the right reasons. And in the same way, look, I've employed some really talented people for a job that didn't need to be done. And every now and then I get the old gun aimed at me for stupid decisions. But ultimately, if I hadn't made the stupid decisions, we wouldn't have got the good ones. And so what do? Make no decisions and just be this dead end type of business that doesn't go anywhere? Because in real estate, what the businesses do in real estate is there's very little innovation. Real estate is smoke and mirrors, and what I find intriguing is that there are no quality standards that a consumer can look at in real estate. You cannot go to any area and go, who should I sell my house with to get the best result, right? Because nobody knows, right? Because I'll ask you the question, what would give you, what would a good result look like in selling a house?
And that's what ultimately it comes down to, isn't it? Like, who do you like as a person? I think people will go and sell a house with someone they connect with, but that person may not be necessarily the best.
But even if they are, and you're right. So I'll go through what I think the importance are. But you're totally right, and this is why Carl's so successful. Because who wouldn't want to sell a house with Carl? Because he's competent, he's articulate, he's funny, right? And he does amazing marketing, right? But the thing about it is that there's nowhere to go that would tell you that that Carl or Sold on Carpet or anyone else gets better results on selling a house than anyone else, because it's an sector or an industry that operates on, what are they, fairy dust? What's that out of the Wolf of Wall Street? Yeah. And maybe it should, right? But like for me, I'm a tangible person. I'm like, what makes, if I was to sell my house, would I go with the person that sells the most houses? How do I find out the person that gets the best value for my house, right? And you hit the nail on the head. The biggest thing for a consumer is feeling safe, right, and well communicated with, and feeling that someone's doing a good job for them, right? Whether they know that, because there's debate, like why do all the Auckland people auction, why do Auckland companies auction their houses? Why in Wellington do we tender houses? The only place in the country that really does a lot of tender and deadlines. There's deadline sales in other places, some places price houses. Cities don't have different ways of operating, right? And regions don't. So the way that we sell a house is dictated by the company, right? Which method is the best method for selling a house, or are they all the same? Anyway, my point about this is not to be too anally academic. It's to say that there are no stats on this because no one wants anyone to know. Because if somebody knew, everyone would go and do the same thing, and it would take away the mystery of it and the need to go and then go and figure out how to do it with. So real estate is dominated by large brands. Large brands say they do all of this stuff, and it's all fairy dust. And so what I'm trying to do with Tall Poppy is to create tangible things that people can go, oh, I understand that, right? That respect. So I'm into respecting consumers' behaviour. So my favourite thing to talk about is Uber, right? On last Saturday, I went to Dunedin to a Christmas party, right? And have you been to Dunedin?
Yes, I have been to Dunedin, and I'm heading there soon again.
Don't get a taxi.
Okay.
$138 from the airport to the hotel.
That's crazy.
And the taxi. But at this point, I didn't know that Ubers were in.
It cost me $160 on Uber to go from Wellington to Kapiti.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
How far is the airport to the hotel?
Less than 30 minutes.
Wow.
Anyway, and also the guy that was driving the taxi, not that I'm wrong, biased, had the window down, and my partner, Belle, was talking on the phone, and it was like, and I'm like, hey man, do you mind shutting the window? And he wound it up 3/4 of the way, and it's, and anyway, I'm prejudiced. But the thing is, with an Uber, obviously, you order an Uber, the Uber driver's name, his car, his car colour, his car quality. There's a star rating.
I was about to say, you see the star rating.
8,500 drives 4.95. You go, okay, isn't in fact too many people off at this stage, right? He's probably okay, or she, right? Anyway, the Uber drive back, because I found out about the Uber, so I got an Uber back now, and the Uber was $90. No, yeah, $90 versus 138. It's 1.5 times the cost, right? Now, people don't necessarily get too dramatic about money at times, and some do and some don't. But I can tell you this, it's safe in the Uber because everything is there for you. You know everything. You know the time that they're going to drop you off. And it respects me, right? It respects me. It says, hey, Michael, what choices do you want to make when you take this ride? Do you want an extra flash one for another $5? Do you want one with a nice heater? Do you want the driver to not talk to you? Anyway, it's giving me options, and it's saying, we respect you as a consumer. We're doing these things so that you can make choices about what you want to do.
Okay.
In the taxi, they pull up. You got no idea. You jump in. the meter's already on about $50, it feels like, right? And there's a little sign somewhere, laminated sign that goes, you get charged an extra $8.50 when we turn the meter off for some other stupid tax reason. It's all hidden.
Yeah.
Now,
I see the point.
Okay, Emma, come to real estate, and people don't see real estate in this way because you don't sell your house often. Every 5 to 7 years, someone sells a house, right? It's not like going to the groceries. If you had to go and sell your house every week, you'd care about the offer, right? But every 5 to 7 years, it's the biggest asset of your life. You're concerned about all sorts of things, but it all happens quite quickly because the day you decide to sell your house, suddenly you got this rush decision that you have to make, and then you've got to go and research, and it's the same sort of thing over and over again. Anyway, my point is that if you go and try to find out the commission rate to sell a house and the process and what's going to happen with a brand, you can't. It's all dependent on the agents. All the Harcourt agents, the Ray White agents, they have their own little thing that they do. And again, I'm not belittling that because there's amazing people in real estate. So I'm certainly not knocking the people, right?
But it's the system.
The system
as a whole. Yeah.
The system, I find, I question everything. And I look at the system and I go, I can't find facts in this system, you know? Anyway, so I constantly try and to do this. So what we've been building for a couple of years now at Tall Poppy is a way in which we can interact with people. You know, we're going to be no Uber. And by the way, real estate is always going to need people. It's allowing the consumers to figure out the best people that will work with them, right? What I can offer very soon is a technology where we can share the entire journey. So we're basically respecting the consumer to know that when we go and do certain types of marketing, there's a report that's going on all the time that's visible to them if they want to look at it, that we can talk to. We're sharing information. We're sharing timelines. They've got control of essentially a portal and a dashboard where they're able to work, question, talk with us, see everything happening, the whole journey. And we're hiding nothing and putting everything on the table because you should. And to that regard, we're going to give our agents better tools. Now, it still comes down to the person and the match with the people. But ultimately, there are really good people driving taxis, right? And there are really good people driving Ubers. But
and sometimes it could be the same person really driving a taxi and an Uber.
Oh, well, now it is. Now it often is. But get this. There are very, even a shitty person can drive an Uber, but they have to give a good experience. But a shitty person driving a taxi is just a shitty person doing a shit job, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, totally.
And anyway, so it's just trying to lift the bar. I'm not trying to like say that any earth-shattering things, but the fundamental of our business is, or like my role in our business is to build really cool things that advance the experience of the consumer. Culturally, though, can I just flip to the culture bit? Okay, so we're fortunate. The reason that I can do this with Tall Poppy, and I couldn't have done this if I went and bought a Ray White or either these sorts of things, is that the industry operates on a bit of an archaic thing with sharing buyer seller parts of listings. Yeah. Do you understand what I mean with this?
Please expand for the listeners.
Okay. So most traditional agencies, when you list your property with them, if you list your property with Harcourt's here in Kapiti, then you'll be sold the dream that you get the whole Harcourt's team and they're all going to help sell your house. So you don't just get the agent, you get the whole team.
The whole team selling your house, yeah.
And that's sold in on the basis that they've got much bigger buyer reach, right? So you get more buyers because of that, right?
Makes sense.
It makes sense, assuming that buyers operate through agents, right? Now, and do you know where this came from?
No.
Okay. So, again, way before my day, but back in the day before the internet and before technology became, like, was it pernicious, whatever it is, everywhere, you had a situation where people went looking for property in newspapers. It was difficult to find all the properties and, you just didn't have search engines and things, right? So what did you do? You went to a real estate agent. They showed you all the properties available and they drove you around and this sort of thing, right? Now, back in the day, the very early day, there were no agencies didn't have their own list. Every listing was general. So So every listing could be sold by every company.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So therefore, the whole thing was a bit of a buyer's agent thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then it moved to you'd list with a company and then they would have their buyer team. So if I'm selling a house and I'm with Harcourts, I sell the house, I get my commission. But if one of my other agents sells that with me, they get part of the commission as well. So
share.
Commission, right? Now, with money and earning and all of these things, that creates tension, right? And this is, I couldn't understand when I got into real estate, I couldn't understand why real estate agents, and this is a funny thing, it's a stat from 2011 study, where real estate agents were ranked one above sex workers for trust.
Whoa.
Right?
What? Just one above.
One above. Right. And that's before the sex workers got a lot more kudos. They've probably gone up the ladder, the old sex workers now. But I don't know where real estate agents are now, but I found that really interesting because it's the biggest asset of your life. Right.
Wow.
And then there's a lot of information about trust with real estate. People don't trust real estate agents. In fact, the only car salesmen, one below the real estate agents. So real estate agents are put in that same category as car salesmen. Car salesman, it's a little bit fluid, 10 grand, 20 grand, whatever. $1 million house, biggest asset of your life. Not quite the same. You know what I mean? And so it's incongruous to me that such a massive thing, professionalism and the asset, would be diminished to being non-trustworthy. And the funny thing is, when I talk to people who have sold their house, they either, if they got a bad result, they hate their agent. If they got a good result, they think the agent's good, right? And they don't say, I don't trust my agent. But everybody that was trying to buy that house that missed out, they don't trust the agent. Yeah. Everybody that attended an auction where there was a little whispering thing going on in the corner and all this stuff going on, they don't trust any of it, right? And I don't know, it's just this environment's been created in an area where you're selling the biggest asset of your life. It should be a really trustworthy sort of thing. And so, when you've got an open home and you're with a traditional agency, well, you've got an open home with a traditional agency, but you could have somebody come and do a viewing in between, right? Who wants to get the viewing in? The person who's not the listing agent, the person that's wanting to get the commission because they've got a buyer. And then it all becomes who's benefiting that, the vendor or the agent? And the whole thing becomes a bit clumsy. And because of technology now, people do not search for property with agents, all right? There's a very clear linear way that people will start researching, and it's online. Yep. And then they'll go and engage a real estate company or start interviewing agents or going through this sort of process. Every property that's for sale, bar about 1%, are online. And they're available for scrutiny with a lot of information. So it's not hard to find the properties that are on the market in the realm of, with the attributes that you might be interested in, right? Now, real estate salespeople, they can be very helpful in the process, no question about that, but that's not where it emanates. And so that whole model from way back when is actually still the way that people are paid and these companies sell in today. And it's increasingly heading more towards our model, which is we have a thing called list and sell. So when you list with one of our agents, they run the whole journey. They're the only ones that get paid. Our other agents still help them, right? We still chuck all our buyers into a pool where we go, if someone else has got a relationship with someone that might be interested, we just share it. We're not sitting there going, give me some money for it. We don't have that. And so we've got a vibe within our business where we feel like a big family. And coming back to that pharmacy company, they felt like a big family, and all the big franchise companies doesn't quite feel like that. So, we had that difference, and they'll stop me on the street now and go, God, Mike, I wish the days of, we were called Radius Pharmacy back in the day, but the days of Radius Pharmacy, I wish we still had that. And, this is the sort of vibe that we've got going with Tall Poppy.
Because it's people first, right? That's what I'm hearing. It's looking after your people, because then they will do the best job looking after their people, who is ultimately the
100%.
client.
And yes.
It's a follow-on effect.
Yeah, well, I mean, but the thing, so because of, with the list and sell, right, even with my, if I think I'm doing good work, even with my good work, with the culture, right, the culture is not compromised from the outset. If I went into that other model with all my values and tried to put them on, I'm immediately in a conflict, right? Because I've got people doing things driven by their need to earn that are in conflict with how we'd operate, right? And so, there are just so many things where I think there's some amazing brands out there, but they're operating in a model that just isn't fit for purpose in a modern environment. And, I'll get hammered for some of these comments if in the wider network, but I totally believe them. I can stand by them and I can back them up with facts. But again, Tall Poppy is not the finished product. We've got so much more to do. We don't have the best people, and we've got great people, but we don't have the best, most talented people to use our tools. So what I'm hoping is that now that we've built this whole new platform, which is our next version, as we tenaciously build to what we'd like to call the ultimate real estate experience. As we do that, what I hope is that, and I've been doing this we've been not really actively trying to build our workforce for about 2 years while we've been trying to get this thing finished, and it's finished now. And so now I expect Tall Poppy to go through a really rapid period of growth again for another couple of years. I'd expect we'll easily double in the next 2 years in size and scope and areas that we're operating in.
What areas are you operating in right now, Michael?
We're very strong we're almost everywhere in the South Island except little pockets. Like we're not on the West Coast. We're not in Kaikoura. We're not in Ashburton and
Are you in Dunedin?
We are, and we're growing rapidly in Dunedin. We're very successful. And if you look at a place like Central Otago with Alexandra and Cromwell, now building in Wanaka, and we'll be pushing more Tall Poppy business into Queenstown. We're actually the dominant listing and selling agency in that Cromwell, Alexandra area, but that's not because of the brand. It's because of good people using our brand. So when really good, competent, down-to-earth people grab our brand and start using it, we smoke everyone.
Yeah.
Like in so many areas, and if we get people who they don't quite have that that connection and that, and they do it not quite as much, but the opportunity's there. So we're really looking to push into those areas I mentioned in the South Island. In Picton, Nelson Tasman, and Blenheim. Depending on which little suburb area that we're in, we're normally one or two. So when you talk about the big 200 office Harcourts, Ray White, and you've got Sotheby's in the purportedly higher end area, and you've got those companies. And here's Little Tall Poppy, where we don't have offices. Our guys work from home. We use technology well. We've got great tools, but we're doing more business than them. No. And you go, well, how does that work?
Yeah.
But they've only got 3 agents and they've got 20, and it just does, because that's just how it works. And I'm not into bums on seats for a business. And
just for the sake of the bums on seats.
We could do that. We could easily do that. But I don't want to manage the carnage of it, and I don't want to manage that, culturally that it also isn't that cool. So anyway, but we're about to jump into. We're launching this stuff in the new year, in February, March. I guess everything will change from the perspective of what the consumers are seeing and thinking of Tall Poppy, and we'll start to grow. And we don't operate in the east coast of the North Island, so from Wairarapa up to Gisborne. Sorry, that's not true. One of our salespeople moved from Wellington to Hawke's Bay, and then we've got 2 people in the Hawke's Bay that we support, but we are really looking to push up that side of the island. We are pretty active all the way up to the Waikato, so we're looking to push heavily Waikato and maybe up to about Frankton and the Coromandel this year. But
do you have agents in Auckland?
We want to stay out of Auckland. We'll have little isolated cases, but Auckland is almost like there's almost 2 countries in New Zealand: Auckland and everyone else. and Auckland has a different environment. So for me, right, you can fight a war on too many fronts and lose, or you can just focus and chunk out what you're doing and do it really well. And that's what we're going to do. And once we've done that, then we'll go, okay, let's have a look at Auckland. Because, Auckland's the biggest market. You could argue that we should just go there, but Auckland can eat you up and spit you out as well. And also, it's much harder to have a pragmatic conversation with someone in Auckland than it is in the regions. In the regions, people are very down to earth, and I'm not knocking anybody in Auckland here, but in Auckland's a rat race. right? And to some degree, everyone who sits outside of Auckland goes to Auckland and goes, oh, that's an amazing city for a holiday. But they go, it's fast-paced, it's very diverse, it's got so much going for it. But the buzz in Auckland is very much, there's a different sort of thing. It's almost like, I hate to say, but if you're sitting outside of Auckland, you go to Auckland and everyone's trying to keep up with the Joneses, right? And so if you take that whole thing of having convincing somebody in Auckland that something is real and a little bit different than they perceive is quite more of a challenge than somebody in Invercargill.
In terms of the buyer on the other side,
yes,
like obviously you're providing a lot of value for your agents, your people, and therefore they can provide a lot of value for the vendors.
Yes.
How does that benefit the buyer?
Yes, that's a really good question. And so in the past, Tall Poppy itself would have said that we're a very vendor-focused company. We're there to get value for the vendors, right? And I probably spent the first 5 odd years really thinking the buyers have to come to us. We manage the system and that sort of thing. I've increasingly developed empathy for the buyers for obvious reasons. I mean, it's hard to get into the market. And and not only that, is that the government put enough silly barriers in the way, you guys, they do the triple CFA for all the right reasons and then fuck it up completely. And next thing you know, you've got a nightmare on your hands just getting basic normal people that can afford it one day finance, and the next minute the government is saying they're not because they drink too much coffee. But I've developed a huge empathy. So while we've built this platform that we've built that I was talking about, affectionately named My Tall Poppy, that's a transactional platform, and that also manages all of the sale and purchase process, right? It's 100% transparent and trustworthy, right? So there's no thing of somebody doing shifty little things. We've got an online auction process. So I'm a little bit of I'm a fundamentally anti-auction person, not because I don't like the theatre of auctions. I love that. I just don't think they're fair. And not only that, I don't think they get the best value for properties. So anyway, we've got an online auction process. You can't miss. There's no sneaky little conversations going on in corners. You're bidding and it's there. And so we have a 24-hour auction process. Now, we don't have that in play at the moment. We've got it. We've built it. And it works, and it's going to be available to some of our agents to experiment with shortly. But anyway, coming back to the buyer thing, if buyers are able to make offers in an online environment and they're literally coached through it by our system. So just by example, I didn't think that buyers would want to just make their own offers for properties, like full offers, sale and purchase agreements. Anyway, we've had the system going for a wee while now, and there's one example in North Canterbury where we had 8 people wanting to make offers. So our agent, put out the process, and she thought that she'd have to go and sit and coach all of them through the online process. She in one day, she logged them into the portal for the offers. She had 2 people that she worked through the offers with. She woke up in the morning, she had 8 offers. Wow. 6 of them had done it. And of the 6 that had done it, only I think 1 or 2 had missed a box in the thing where she needed to advise them about that process.
And how cool is that? Like, how streamlined is that for the buyers? Like, because I get multiple calls a day from my buyers, and I have to coach them through how to put an offer, right? I have to help them through, and that's not my job. I only know because I've done it for so long, but professionally speaking, I shouldn't be really doing that in a way. And often I would say, go speak to your solicitor and go do this, that. But how cool is that for the buyers to have that power back, to understand that they can do that themselves and not rely on a lawyer getting back to them because lawyers are so busy and lawyers not getting back to them on time, and they have to put an offer right now. Like, that's just, to me, Michael, out of everything we spoke about today, I think because I'm so passionate about the buyers, like, this is gold. This is where you're making history.
Yeah, I think so. And again, I know, look, I see the sparkle in your eyes when you talk about that. And I agree. And so we are really looking at this process on how we make it, because with this technology, we actually bought another company called Proppy, and we've taken their technology and built on it to make it this interactive. And they've done an amazing, just to acknowledge them, they've done an amazing job creating this platform. and that struck all of the issues that we had of building a company. But now the combined technology that they've got, and then us building on that technology, we've created this thing. But we have a saying. I can't remember which philosopher it is, but basically, we're building that platform for the people and the agents with their input. So every single day, the platform's in play, but we have user groups, and the feedback's coming back in, and there are changes almost daily. And there's a weekly relaunch of that platform as we've been building for the last few months and having it in play. And with the sale and purchase bit, so all of the first part's fully operational with our team now, and the sale and purchase bit is being used by some, and it'll be used by everybody early next year. And as we keep building that, but it's going to get better and better and better. And that's the experience I want for the buyers, because what the buyers, they need to know that, how many times have you had people that have got, have paid for, if they haven't already got LIM reports, they've paid for LIM reports, they're building reports and all of these sort of things, only to miss out, on multiple offers, and the process being, and then they have to engage with the agent, right? And they either still doing paper offers, of which the agent has to do that, drive somewhere else, get a signature, or these days they might scan it into a system and send it with an Adobe thing or whatever. But it's time consuming. But the thing is, it's not just time consuming. When they go and doing all of this writing of the contract, the ability for the buyer, and this comes back to the Uber thing, the ability for the buyer to dial into what on earth it actually means going on our system, every disclosure, you read it quickly and you tick the box, right? There's a bit where your brain is taking it in. Do I want this? Do I not want this? We include a whole bunch of things that you have to exclude if you don't want them, as opposed to saying, I want finance, right? Or these sorts of things. So we make the buyers consider every piece that they might not think of. And all of these things, which are a little bit like the Uber, it's like, it's there for you, right? It's obvious and it's open. And then it takes away the likelihood of a dispute or he said, she said, and it just makes things faster. It makes things a lot easier for the lawyers. There's going to be a lot less traffic at that end of the transaction, and at the moment, the way that the market is now, we've got a lot of people wanting to buy houses, but the deals won't go through because there's all sorts of little shitty things in the way, and trying to remove those things from the process, make it much easier for the buyers to buy a house with our guys. And also to make the vendors feel way better about the transaction. So we haven't got it sussed, but we are trying hard, and I don't see others investing in the same area. That we are, but I'm sure there are, but we don't see them.
That's the thing. Right, let's start wrapping it up. I've got a couple of last questions for you. Sure. Keep it short.
All right.
So you can come back. I feel like we need few sessions of this to keep it going. All right. Favorite motto in life? What do you live by?
Oh, look, I'm a clown.
I didn't notice.
So look, I do things that I like, right? So my motto is don't lie to people.
Yeah, good one.
Don't lie to people. Be kind, but have fun.
Yeah.
I say to all my family, I say to all my staff that are all stressed out and and going through don't lose your inner 12-year-old. The day I lose my inner 12-year-old, I'm out.
Yeah, I love that. And the final one is, what fills your cup?
I've got one of those personality types, that sort of acts of service. That's my love language, acts of service, right? What fills my cup is watching the people I love, happy, like literally happy. And the same with, like, when someone's stressed out in our workforce, how do I fix it? So I'm a fixer. Fills my cup, the people I love being happy. It's not success, it's not money, it's got nothing to do with that. It's actually to do with that. Yeah.
I think, and this is where you and I have aligned quite significantly, is that we've got that similar value, where my one is also acts of service, and I love doing stuff for people, and also being kind and having fun.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Michael, thank you so much for coming today. It's just been incredible hearing about your journey. Can I have you back? And we can talk more about it.
Yeah, if he'll have us back.
If producer Matt allows. Awesome. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your week and speak to you soon.
Yeah, thanks, Ebony. So it's been lovely.
And that's a wrap on That Home Loan Hub. Don't forget to hit subscribe and join me next time for more property tips and tricks. Your next smart move starts here. And that's a wrap on that Home Loan Hub. Don't forget to hit subscribe and join me next time for more property tips and tricks. Your next smart move starts here.